Arsenal have just lost 3-1 to Manchester City at home in what will arguably go down as the title-deciding game this season. Now, Arsenal fans might feel like their side played better football, and they might have a point because Arsenal dominated possession and were silky smooth in moments throughout that game. But ultimately, Manchester City were up for the fight and they were able to capitalize on Arsenal's defensive mistakes to win a crucial game in the title race. In this video, we're going to first analyze Arsenal in possession and City out of possession, and then we'll look at the defensive mistakes in all three City goals. If you like what you see, please drop a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button to never miss out on content just like this. So Arsenal started in their usual 4-3-3, but Man City started in an unusual 3-2-4-1 formation, playing Walker as a starting center back and Bernardo Silva as a CDM. In game, however, City defended in a more traditional 4-2-3-1 formation that looked like this. Pep Guardiola moved Bernardo Silva from this area here to left back, and he moved Gundogan from the attacking midfield 4 into the double pivot next to Rodri. And KDB played a little more centrally instead of his starting position from this area here. And as we'll see shortly, Pep made these changes in-game to counter Arsenal's biggest threats in Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, and Granit Xhaka. In-game, Arsenal played in a 2-3-2-3 formation that looked like this, and the slight tweak that Arteta made for this game is that normally he asks Nketiah to drop deeper and join Xhaka and Odegaard to create more overloads in midfield, but in this game he asked Nketiah to stay tighter to the City center backs. Saka was defended by Silva most of the game, and this is why Silva was actually playing in left back. Martinelli was defended by Walker most of the game, and then Arteta's midfield endangerment of Xhaka and Odegaard were guarded by Rodri and Gundogan most of the game, and this is why Gundogan was actually moved into that double pivot role. Then we had Zinchenko, Jorginho, and Tomiyasu, who made up the deeper three for Arsenal, with the two center backs left to handle Erling Haaland by themselves. So Arsenal's game plan for this game didn't actually change much from their normal playstyle. They tried to dominate the midfield by using their middle 5 players that you see here to create overloads in City's half. And on the ball, it was the usual suspects that were expected to damage Manchester City in Zinchenko, Xhaka, Tomiyasu, and Odegaard. The work of these 4 in the inside half spaces and the wings creates space for their wide men to either cut inside or go on the overlap and put in a cross into the box. And Arteta's team did this to great effect today, but they weren't really able to capitalize on their chances. Now I want to highlight one particular chance that Arsenal created because it was some silky smooth prime Barcelona football. We see Martinelli picking up the ball here and he's about to play a pass out into Jorginho, who's in tons of space. And this was a deliberate tactic from Pep Guardiola because he cared more about marking Xhaka and Odegaard than he did about any of the 3 players in the deeper midfield position that played for Arsenal. And that's why the entire City team except for Haaland is actually behind or in line with Xhaka and Odegaard. As we play the clip, we see Jorginho receiving the ball and plays a first-time pass to Xhaka, who's made himself some room because he's made an early run past Rodri. Xhaka then plays it first time to Odegaard, who also finds himself in tons of space because Gundogan has actually given his defensive marking duties over to Grealish in the hopes that he wins the ball back off of Xhaka. And since Grealish is already in a bad position, he can neither stop Odegaard from getting on the ball, nor can he provide defensive support to Bernardo Silva to stop Saka from doing anything with the ball. So Saka finds himself in tons of room, and you would expect him to take a touch and shoot it with his right foot, or maybe even take a touch and shoot it with his left foot. But ultimately he decides to get it onto his left, and what a lot of people may not have noticed is that he could have actually also played the ball across the 6-yard box for Nketiah to get on the edge of it, because Nketiah is probably getting there ahead of someone like Ruben Dias. And of course nothing ends up coming out of this play, but Arsenal played some sublime stuff. Go check out the highlights to watch this in real time because this was some really good stuff. As we've already discussed, Arsenal made 3 defensive mistakes in this game and Manchester City punished them all 3 times. Let's analyze what went wrong for Arsenal, starting with City's first goal. We see Ederson receiving the ball in his box here, and as he's about to launch it up, notice how there are 5 City players in the frame and only 3 Arsenal players. As the ball moves up the pitch, we see Haaland tussling with Saliba to win the ball. And if he wins it, City are basically 4v4. If I was really nitpicking here, I'd say Jorginho should be in a better position, tighter to Kevin De Bruyne that's on your screen here. And I believe if Partey was playing in this position in this game, he would have definitely been closer to Kevin De Bruyne. But anyways, let's play on. Saliba ends up winning the header, but it goes towards his own goal, and this becomes a 3v3 at worst now for Arsenal. But you see all three defenders have a few yards on their men, so you'd expect them to clean this up very easily. As we play it along, I think Grealish deserves a lot of credit for his role in this goal because he puts a lot of pressure on Tomiyasu, and Tomiyasu has only one thing on his mind, and that's to play it back to Ramsdale. And you can even see Arteta here gesturing to Tomiyasu to play it back to Ramsdale. Unfortunately, Tomiyasu ends up playing it to Ramsdale's left towards the center of the pitch instead of playing it to Ramsdale's right away from the goal. And of course, De Bruyne is in a perfect position to capitalize on Tomiyasu's mistake and dink it over Ramsdale to score the first goal. At this level, against this quality of opposition, you just cannot afford to make mistakes like this. Hindsight is 2020, but Arsenal would have just been better off if Tomiyasu put the ball out of play. Here we have City's second goal, starting with Kyle Walker about to receive the ball near the halfway line. His header goes towards De Bruyne, who's being closely marked by Gabriel, but he manages to play it to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo tries a Trivela pass in behind to find Haaland's run, but Zinchenko gets a deflection and Gabriel has control of possession. Now he has several options here. He can either go back to Ramsdale or just kick it out of play, but really any other option is very risky because he's surrounded by three City players. But for some reason, Gabriel decides to turn and pass it towards Xhaka to find him here, without realizing that KDB and Bernardo Silva are in great position to intercept a pass like that. So Silva ends up getting himself into a great position to play a reverse pass to find Haaland, who gets clean in behind on goal, and he can decide to go by himself or find one of the supporting casts that are with him. You can't actually see Grealish, but he's in this area here. Haaland ends up getting to the edge of the box and rolls a simple pass to Gundogan, who ends up doing the same exact thing for Grealish, and Grealish has the opportunity to shoot at Ramsdale's goal in tons and tons of space inside the box. Now, a simple mistake by Gabriel near the halfway line means the rest of Arsenal's defense is forced to cover for him, and they keep cascading over more towards the center of the goal, and that ends up giving Grealish a ton of space inside the box to score the goal. And again, you just can't afford to make mistakes like this when you're playing in a title deciding game. For our final clip, we look at City's third goal, and it's a more subtle mistake this time around. We start with City passing the ball to Gundogan while being challenged by Xhaka in this area of the pitch, and I want you guys to pay close attention to Kevin De Bruyne's positioning relative to Zinchenko in this area here. As Gundogan receives the ball, we see De Bruyne taking a few steps inward, but Zinchenko is still rooted to the same spot that he was in a few seconds ago. As Gundogan turns and dribbles forward, we see a small channel open up here that De Bruyne is trying to get into. And finally now, Zinchenko ends up sensing this danger, and we see him trying to get tight to Kevin De Bruyne. But it's already too late, as KDB is on the wrong side of Zinchenko that we can see here, and KDB ends up being in enough space to find a cutback towards Haaland, and Haaland takes one touch, and the second touch puts it into the back of the net. Now, Zinchenko had a really good game on the ball today. He played some really good stuff and created some chances for Arsenal, as he's been doing for Arsenal this season. But he's always been a little suspect defensively, even when he was at City. Someone has to mark KDB in a situation like that. If it's not Zinchenko, then maybe you can blame Trossard, who was also in that area. Either way, a defensive mistake cost Arsenal that goal. In closing thoughts, Manchester City got a huge win away from home, and while it is just 3 points, this could be the start of positive momentum for Manchester City and negative momentum for Arsenal. And while Arsenal were absolutely flying at the halfway stage with 50 points in 19 games, they've got just 1 point from the 9 available in the 3 games since. In no way are Arsenal out of the title race after this loss, but they have just made it a lot harder on themselves by losing this game, especially because the reverse fixture at the Etihad will be harder than this one to win. Now, I still have faith in Arteta to get Arsenal across the finish line, but they will have to show a lot of mental fortitude to take this title race to the wire. Get in the comments below with your thoughts about the title race. Will Arsenal win their first league title in 19 years, or will Pep Guardiola win his 5th title at City? If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel, as we're on the road to 10K subscribers and your support can make a big difference. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.